Hey everybody, this is a walkthrough of what you're going to be expected to do in your Q1 quadratics project. And first thing you need to know is you need to know your equation. At the beginning of the semester, I assigned everybody a calculator number. If you don't know your calculator number, you just need to email me and I will help you figure out what your calculator number is. But you're going to take your calculator number, whatever that is, and you're going to take that equation. Okay, so number 15, for instance, y equals x minus 4 times x plus 6, that would be your equation. So each of you is responsible for finding your calculator and picking your equation. That's step one. So let's say we pick our equation. In mine, I'm going to just build a new one that nobody will use. I'm going to say mine is y equals x minus 5 times x plus 9. And so what you're going to do in your own personal video, okay, the expectation is that you are able to produce a video. If for some reason that is a challenge for you that you don't feel you can overcome, you don't have access to a smartphone that has a camera that functions, or maybe you don't have access to a webcam or a laptop with a webcam and a microphone built in, let's talk. You and I will have a conversation. These can be done in a written format. They're just really irritating, I think, for most students to build that way. When we go through this video, you're going to find, wow, it's not that hard, but if you're having to do it all by typing, it gets frustrating really fast. I don't know why I do this when I say the word typing, but I do. Mr. Welch, me and Mr. Welch. Okay, our job in this, and whether you do a video or you do it written, again, we'll have that conversation individually. Videos are going to be simpler. All you have to do is get me from this version of the equation to standard form, and then from standard form to vertex form. And so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to do an example right now, and basically everything I'm doing, you're going to do, but for your specific equation. So, ready? This is where our video would start. To start this problem, I'm going to need to distribute or FOIL the two parentheses together to make it into standard form. So we're going to go ahead and multiply x by x to produce x squared, an x by 9 to produce 9x, a negative 5 times x to produce a negative 5x, and our last combination would be negative 5 times 9 to produce a negative 45. Now all of this is still equal to y. The only thing I have left to put it in standard form would be to combine some like terms. And since I have a 9x and a negative 5x, I can combine those to make my equation say y equals x squared plus 4x minus 45. This is the standard form of the equation. Now I'm going to pause. Imagine that I'm pausing the explanation. This is where I'm going to take a side note. You wouldn't include this part in your video. So, pause that from the explanation piece. So we've gotten halfway through the problem. And hopefully you're explaining what you're doing along the way. You don't just give me the answer. You got to tell me how do you get the answer, all right? So explaining yourself along the way is really, again, 60% of your grade is going to be based on, did you explain yourself? Or did you just throw answers at me? I mean, I'll give you 20% for that answer right there. And I'll give you 20% for the last answer. But you still get an F. You've got to explain what you're doing along the way. All right, unpause. Here comes the rest of the video. Okay, so now for us to get it into vertex form, I'm going to have to use a process called completing the square. To complete the square, the first thing we always look at is our x squared. We want to make sure our x squared is a single x squared, that it's a 1x squared. Because there's not a number in front of x squared, we know this is a 1x squared. And that's perfect. The second thing we want to do is get rid of this negative 45. If it's not the perfect square, I don't want it. So I'm going to move it to the left side of the equal sign by adding 45 to both sides. On the left, I now have y plus 45 equals x squared plus 4x, because the 45s, they cancel, they zero out. Now I need to add the perfect number to make the square on the right side, or the factoring on the right side, be a perfect square trinomial. To do that, I'm going to take this number. It's always the number next to x. So we call it the middle number, or b. We take that number and we divide it by 2. And whatever we get as that answer, we need to square it. It's called completing the square. So we need this perfect square. Well, half of 4 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. it's not always going to be the same number that you see here. If it was a 6 right here in the middle, I'd use a 9 because half of 6 is 3 and 3 squared is 9. In this case, it turns out to just be a 4. For me to add that 4 to the right side, which is what I really need, I'm going to also have to add it here on the left side. So now I have y plus 49 equals. This guy on the right, I said I did this with a specific purpose in mind. It has to do with the factoring. If I were to factor this by just traditional means, the x squared would split as x and x. I'd ask, how do I split the 4 so it adds up to 4? The answer will be in the square root. The square root of 4 is 2. And if I use a 2 and I use another 2, I add them, I produce the 4 in the middle. So I know this will be a 2 and this will be a 2. The last number in my equation here is positive. That means my signs have to match. And in order to get a positive 4, I'm going to need a plus 2 and a plus 2. That means this can be written as y plus 49 equals x plus 2 quantity squared, because something times itself is the same as being squared. To finish getting this in vertex form, I would minus 49 from both sides. So that y is alone, and it equals x plus 2 squared minus 49. And that is the final answer I'm after. I said this is in vertex form, and if I really wanted the vertex, I would take the opposite of what's grouped with x, which would be negative 2, and then whatever numbers added or subtracted at the end, just the way it is. The vertex isn't part of your quarter project solution, but it's always important that we recognize what the purpose or what the benefit of doing something is. All right, pause. Video's done. I've done all the explanation that needed to happen. It's worth a lot of points. Get it done. Get it turned in. Submit the video, share it with me, and we'll go from there. If you're struggling with how do I produce this video, I don't really feel like I understand the technology that I need to use, I can't get it to attach in an email, you can share it as an Office 365 link. You could put it in Sway, I think I think Sway is the, or Stream is the Office 365 tool that will allow you to make videos. There's a lot of options. Again, if you have questions, talk to me. Once I know what your questions are and what tools you have to work with, I can definitely help you figure it out. But good luck, guys. We'll see you in class, and I look forward to your submissions.